The Bermuda Triangle is full of mysteries. I'm very excited to get to the bottom of it. You know, it's a lot of theories out there.
In 2025, the world finally learned the truth about the Bermuda Triangle. For decades, ships and planes vanished without a trace. Now, scientists have cracked the code, and it's terrifying. The cause is far more dangerous than imagined. What's hiding beneath those waters might be worse than every theory we've ever believed. Join us as we uncover what's hiding beneath the sea. The lost ships, before the legend of the Triangle. Long before the term Bermuda Triangle was coined, sailors were afraid of the sea in the region between Bermuda, Florida, and Puerto Rico. There were rumors of ships disappearing mysteriously, which spread through ports and docks. Even before airplanes flew over the area, unusual events were occurring in the deep waters. No one could understand or provide explanations for what was happening. The feeling that something was amiss in that area was widely felt by all. The first recorded case happened in 18,000. The USS Pickering, a naval schooner, set sail from Delaware Bay bound for the West Indies with 70 men aboard. Initially, everything was fine, but suddenly the ship vanished without a trace. No debris, bodies, or remnants of the sail were ever discovered. It was as if the ocean had swallowed the entire vessel without a sound. Hurricanes were common in that area and storms happened often, but there was something strange. Two other ships took the same route at the same time and arrived safely. The fact that the USS Pickering disappeared made people suspicious. People began to raise questions, but no one had answers. Just 1 year later, in 18,001, a similar incident occurred. The USS Insurgent, a naval schooner, disappeared mysteriously while sailing in the same area under similar conditions. There was no warning, no distress signal, and no wreckage left behind. The mysterious disappearances were starting to become a pattern, causing concern among sailors who usually kept quiet about their fears. It seemed like there was something strange lurking out there on the waters. Over time, more strange stories came to light. One of these stories involved the Ellen Austin ship in 1881. While sailing across the mid-Atlantic, the crew of the Ellen Austin saw a ghost ship drifting without anyone on board. The ship was not damaged or sinking, just mysteriously deserted. Captain Baker decided to send some of his crew to take control of the abandoned vessel and sail it alongside the Ellen Austin. However, shortly after, a storm arrived and caused the two ships to be separated. Ellen Austin tried to find the schooner after the storm ended, but it was nowhere to be seen. There were no signs of it anywhere. The crew did not see any sails in the distance or receive any signals. There was no trace of the crew or the ship. It simply vanished once again. The Ellen Austin returned to the port without the missing vessel, but with unusual entries in its logbook. The entries described a spooky silence and a strange sense among the crew that they were being watched by something unseen. The newspapers reported on the strange events, adding a new layer of mystery to the sea. In the late 18,000s, insurance companies began to take notice of the mysterious disappearances. This was not just folklore to them, but potential financial hazards. Records of ships and insurance payments started to reflect this. Ships traveling through specific areas near the Bahamas and Yucatan Channel had to pay more for insurance, similar to war zones due to the ongoing disappearances. This increase in premiums was not solely due to storms, but also because the vanishings were a recurring occurrence. In response, captains and shipping companies started to avoid these troubled waters, or if they had no choice but to pass through, they ensured their most skilled crew members were on board. In 1898, the U.S. Hydrographic Office cautioned ship captains about unexpected violent storms in the area. The warnings did not specify the cause of the extreme weather, but it was evident that something unusual was happening in those waters. Experienced sailors who had been on the sea for a long time acknowledged this. They did not always vocalize it, but they had a deep-seated fear of the region that surpassed any weather predictions. The fear did not come from made-up tales, but from actual occurrences. During that time, technology like satellites, radar, and long-term weather predictions did not exist. Sailors relied on compasses, stars, and intuition to guide them. A ship could easily veer off course due to sudden storms or powerful ocean currents. However, the disappearances did not seem accidental. Ships vanished without sending out distress signals, and no wreckage was ever discovered. They seemed to just vanish into thin air. As more ships disappeared, people became more afraid. What started as quiet talk grew into widespread stories. Stories of sea creatures, haunted ships, and cursed waters spread among sailors. These weren't just made-up tales. They came from seasoned sailors who had seen unusual things on the ocean. They were deeply convinced of what they had witnessed. In 1945, when Flight 19 disappeared, the legend of the Bermuda Triangle was already well known. However, the mystery did not start with airplanes. It began with the ships that vanished in the ocean. Before anyone talked about a triangle, the sea had its eerie tale of lost ships. Even now, the ocean has not revealed those secrets. What happens to planes over the Bermuda Triangle? Flying over the Bermuda Triangle is different from flying over other parts of the ocean. From above, it may seem peaceful, but for pilots, especially before satellite navigation, it presented several obstacles. The region between Bermuda, Florida, and Puerto Rico has always had a mysterious reputation. Many stories revolve around strange events and unexplained phenomena, but a lot of the occurrences can be attributed to practical, technical issues. One major problem is something called navigation drift. Long ago, pilots did not have GPS. Instead, they relied on magnetic compasses and a technique called dead reckoning. This involved estimating their location based on speed, time, and direction. This was particularly challenging over the open ocean because there were no visual landmarks, and changes in magnetic fields could affect the accuracy of the compass. A slight error in direction could compound over time. In just an hour, a plane could veer significantly off course without the crew noticing. When a pilot believes the plane is on course but it's veering off track, problems can arise. Instead of approaching a safe landing spot, the aircraft could be heading further into the ocean. This is particularly risky considering the limited distance a plane can travel before it runs out of fuel. For example, the World War II TBM Avenger could only fly for about 4 hours. This doesn't leave much time to rectify errors or retrace the path. If they strayed off course and flew too far, there might not be sufficient fuel remaining to go back or look for land. The weather and sea temperature in this area can be challenging. The warm waters may not seem like a big issue, but they have an impact. Warm air is less dense than cold air, affecting aircraft performance. This can be risky for planes flying low, especially older models or heavily loaded ones. If they encounter a storm or need to climb rapidly, they may lack the power and lift to do so. This could result in loss of control or difficulty staying airborne. The warm sea air in this case can quietly contribute to why a flight might not go smoothly. When old planes or when the weight inside a plane is not distributed evenly, the conditions worsen. If a plane is carrying too much weight or is not balanced correctly, it is already operating at its maximum capacity. If you also have bad weather, warm air, or a sudden need to maneuver quickly, the plane may not be able to handle it. These are not obvious causes of accidents, but rather subtle and dangerous ones that are often overlooked until it's too late. The Bermuda Triangle is known for causing physical problems as well as communication and tracking issues. Pilots, whether they are from the military or civilians, usually send regular updates while flying. Sometimes these updates are normal until they abruptly cease. Radar operators will spot the plane on their screens and then it will disappear suddenly without any warning. There is no distress call or last message, just eerie silence. These occurrences are sometimes referred to as ghost radar tracks, where the aircraft seems fine one moment and then disappears the next. There are several possible reasons for this situation occurring. Radar signals might be disrupted by outside factors, or a plane could descend too close to the ground or veer out of the radar's coverage area. Occasionally, the tracking devices stop functioning properly. Regardless of the specific cause, the result is consistently the same. The whereabouts of the aircraft become unknown. This makes it extremely challenging for search and rescue teams to begin looking in the correct location. Even a small delay in determining the plane's most recent position can determine whether survivors are found or not. Today, with satellites and GPS, people may believe that navigation problems at sea are no longer an issue. However, modern technology comes with its set of difficulties. Equipment can still break down. Some crews may become complacent, relying too much on the technology to do all the work for them. This can lead to them not noticing if they are veering off course or ignoring early alarms about fuel issues. In regions like the Bermuda Triangle, where there are no cities, airports, or much assistance, these errors can have deadly consequences. The human aspect also plays a role in the Bermuda Triangle mystery. There are superstitions surrounding this area that can make crew members uneasy. Just the mention of the name can cause anxiety. Fear and stress can impact the choices that people make. An anxious pilot might act hastily or make a decision that they wouldn't typically make. They might make sudden turns, attempt to climb too rapidly, or misinterpret their instruments. These minor mistakes, stemming from stress and fear, can transform a routine flight into a perilous one. When you consider all of the factors such as navigation errors, low fuel, engine problems, aging planes, communication failures, and pilot stress, the Bermuda Triangle becomes easier to understand. The incidents that occur there are not necessarily due to mysterious or supernatural forces. They are caused by practical challenges faced by pilots flying long distances over vast uninhabited ocean areas. Precision, composure, and proper planning are essential in this region. Without these, even a minor error can lead to a catastrophe. The Bermuda Triangle is known for its mysterious reputation, but most of its dangers come from known factors like equipment malfunctions, weather conditions, and pilot decisions. It is essential for aircraft flying in the area to ensure everything is in proper working order and remain alert at all times to stay safe. The tragic fates of USS Cyclops and El Faro. In the large and unpredictable ocean, not every ship makes it back home. Some ships leave the port and are never found again, their stories lost in the waves and quiet. Two ships, the USS Cyclops in 1918 and the El Faro in 2015, disappeared under different circumstances but had similar patterns of errors, dangers, and results that are still talked about in the shipping industry today. The USS Cyclops was a huge ship, measuring 542 feet in length. This Navy collier was used for carrying fuel and cargo. On her last trip, she was carrying loads of manganese ore heading to Baltimore. She had departed from Brazil, crossed the Atlantic, and then disappeared without a trace. There were no calls for help, no evidence of damage, and no debris found. It was just silence. Along with the ship, 306 crew members vanished and were never seen or heard from again. The Cyclops' sudden disappearance was very scary because people couldn't understand how such a large ship with many people on board could simply disappear. However, there were hints suggesting that the disappearance was not caused by a strange force or hidden danger, but rather by known issues. The ship had a low distance between the waterline and the main deck, making it vulnerable to heavy waves. This was even more dangerous because the manganese ore it was carrying was not packed properly. If this dense cargo shifted while the ship was moving, it could make the ship unstable, especially in rough weather. And then, there was the man in charge, Captain George W. Worley. He was known for his unusual and unpredictable actions. According to records, he disregarded warnings about bad weather and opted for a shorter route to save on fuel. This route left the ship vulnerable to the full force of the ocean. His risky choices, along with the ship's weaknesses, may have led to disaster. One misstep at the wrong moment could have caused a massive ship like Cyclops to vanish without any opportunity to seek assistance. Almost a century later, events seem to unfold in a similar and harsh manner. The El Faro was a massive cargo ship that was around 800 feet in length, with advanced technology and made for transporting heavy loads. Back in 2015, it departed from Florida bound for Puerto Rico. Just like the Cyclops, it was carrying a lot of heavy cargo and had a low freeboard. However, unlike the Cyclops, the El Faro was heading directly into the path of Hurricane Joaquin. Captain Michael Davidson felt pressured to stick to the schedule, as delaying the trip would be expensive and time-consuming. Rather than waiting out the storm or changing direction, he decided to continue on course. Unfortunately, investigations revealed that this decision, made due to time constraints rather than safety concerns, had devastating consequences. The hurricane struck with great force, causing the El Faro to sink. Tragically, all 33 crew members on board lost their lives. The Cyclops and El Faro had similar risky factors in common, including carrying heavy cargo, having low deck clearance, captains making poor decisions, and underestimating the power of the ocean. In both situations, there were no opportunities for a do-over from the sea. Experts investigating these disasters did not discover anything mysterious or supernatural. The causes behind these losses were not strange forces or hidden dangers. Instead, they found common mistakes like errors in ship design, problems with cargo loading, and risky decisions made in crucial moments. Bulk freighters, such as the Cyclops and El Faro, are hard to maneuver fast when they are carrying cargo. This makes it extremely challenging for a captain to make quick decisions when wanted, resulting in difficulties in turning the ship or adjusting its speed if the captain waits too long to take action. In rough seas, even a short delay of a few minutes could potentially lead to a tragic outcome. These two tragic events are more than just sad tales from the past. They serve as reminders. Despite the increasing size of ships to accommodate global trade needs, many of the same dangers still exist. Larger ships still have difficulty with balancing their load. they still depend on individuals to make wise choices in stressful situations. And occasionally, even with advanced technology, human judgment can still falter. The Bermuda Triangle and similar locations are often seen as mysterious. However, the reality is that accidents in these areas are typically caused by practical factors like outdated ship designs, unsafe cargo loads, and risky decisions that exceed safety limits. The danger of microbursts over the Bermuda Triangle. Something unusual and mysterious is occurring in the sky above the Bermuda Triangle. This phenomenon is not like a ghost story or a magical tale, but it is a real occurrence that has intrigued scientists, pilots, and weather experts worldwide. These unique cloud formations are hexagonal in shape and are considered to be a potentially hazardous weather event, particularly in the Bahamas region. Meteorologists first observed these unique cloud formations in satellite pictures in 2016. What intrigued them was not only the large size of the clouds, some reaching up to 50 miles in width, but also their distinct appearance. The clouds had precise, well-defined edges and formed patterns that were orderly and uniform, almost as if they had been sketched out with a straight edge in the sky. Weather patterns typically exhibit chaotic and unpredictable behavior, but these clouds stood out for their unusual shape and structure, prompting meteorologists to investigate further. Researchers noticed a link between hexagonal cloud areas and sudden bursts of air underneath them. These bursts are known as microbursts or air bombs and are strong and violent. Unlike typical storms, they don't have lightning or thunder but form and vanish quickly yet are very powerful. A microburst functions by having cold, dense air from high in the sky quickly descend straight down to the ground. This air can reach speeds of over 100 miles per hour. When it reaches the surface, whether it be land or sea, it expands in all directions. This sudden burst of air can affect anything in its way, even planes. If a plane is in the vicinity and flying at lower altitudes during a microburst, the consequences can be fatal. Picture yourself cruising through the sky in a plane with calm weather. Suddenly, a strong gust of wind comes out of nowhere. One side of the plane loses lift quicker than the other, causing it to tip and roll abruptly. There is no advance notice of this happening, so pilots are caught off guard and don't have time to respond. When flying at higher altitudes, these sudden downdrafts can confuse the autopilot systems and even lead to engine stalling by disrupting the airflow balance. This is why microbursts are so terrifying. They strike suddenly and disappear before anyone realizes they have occurred. In 2021, a new event occurred in the Bermuda Triangle. A satellite system known as Trident started to observe the skies in that area. Trident was not only capturing images, but it also had advanced tools to detect variations in air pressure, temperature, and other indications of microbursts. During its second scan, Trident witnessed a remarkable phenomenon. A sudden burst of air descended through the atmosphere and hit the ocean, leaving behind a large ring of foam that was 12 kilometers wide. The event was even more surprising because of the rapid pressure drop detected by Trident, which was as powerful as a Category 2 hurricane. Unlike a hurricane that takes days to form over hundreds of miles, this pressure drop happened in less than 3 minutes, with no warning, swirling clouds, or buildup. It was a sudden and intense event from the sky. The satellite had provided evidence of a phenomenon that pilots had been concerned about for years, but could not prove. Now the proof was undeniable. The information from Trident proved that microbursts were more than just ideas or unbelievable accounts from fortunate pilots. These were actual weather phenomena, intense, abrupt, and extremely risky. Prior to Trident, individuals were only aware of these bursts after a negative incident had occurred, such as a plane crash, a close call, or a first-hand account from a survivor. However, scientists could now observe them developing, occurring, and dissipating right as it happened. Although there is now a better understanding of microbursts, they still pose a significant risk, especially over the Bermuda Triangle. Traditional weather systems, including those utilized by airlines, frequently do not detect them due to their high speed. Microbursts can occur without any accompanying clouds, making them difficult to spot. The sky may appear clear just before a microburst strikes, giving a false sense of security. This sudden danger can turn a seemingly calm and safe flight into a deadly situation. Weather forecasters have improved in predicting large storms. Thunderstorms develop slowly and show warning signs. Pilots are aware of how to steer clear of these storms. However, microbursts act differently and cannot be forecasted the same way. They can materialize and vanish quickly, sometimes without being detected by radar systems. Despite efforts like Trident to raise awareness, microbursts still pose a significant threat. In order to improve safety when flying over the Bermuda Triangle, cockpit systems must be updated. The planes should have the ability to quickly detect and respond to sudden changes in air pressure or wind speed. It is important for pilots to be promptly alerted to any potential dangers so they can take appropriate measures. Without these improvements, microbursts will remain a hidden danger over the Bermuda Triangle. The focus is not on being scared, but on gaining knowledge. These mini lightning strikes that happen quickly in the sky are helping scientists learn more about the atmosphere regularly, how technology is changing accountability. In the past, ships and planes could be unexpectedly engulfed by storms, waves, or unusual air currents. Captains and pilots had to trust their instincts, experience, and luck when navigating. Mistakes were often forgiven because people understood that nature could be unpredictable and disasters were seen as unfortunate accidents. However, the world is now evolving. New technologies such as the Trident satellite network and AI-powered hazard alert systems are improving our understanding of the ocean and atmosphere. These tools can detect things like sudden gusts of wind, hazardous air turbulence, and changes in the Earth's magnetic field before humans can. In the past, these risks would catch people off guard, but not anymore. With instant alerts popping up on digital screens, deciding to proceed through a dangerous area carries a different significance. It's no longer just a matter of being brave or unfortunate, it could be seen as reckless. The shipping and aviation industries are heading towards a new era. If you don't heed a warning and something goes wrong, you could be held responsible. This shift is impacting maritime and aviation laws, focusing more on decision-making rather than external factors like weather or equipment malfunctions. Starting in 2025, prominent insurance companies like Lloyd's of London implemented significant alterations to their policies. These insurers no longer view every loss as inevitable. If a pilot or ship captain disregards a warning from a reliable AI system, their insurance claim could be rejected. This implies they would not receive compensation for any damages, assistance for lost cargo, or coverage for any destroyed vessels. Many smaller shipping companies and private airplane operators are worried about the new rule. They think their crews are not trained well enough to understand or trust AI warnings. They are afraid that the systems could make errors or misinterpret the data. However, insurance companies have a different view. They believe that having reliable alerts means there is no justification for any mishaps. If something goes awry, it means that the warning had already been issued. That perspective is gaining traction. Experts in the legal field are currently revising sections of maritime and aviation laws. The legal system is contemplating whether disregarding a warning from an AI system could be considered a breach of responsibility. These alerts are beginning to be viewed as more than mere recommendations by the law. Several governments, particularly in the US and EU, are already in the process of developing new regulations. They propose that specific vessels and airplanes be equipped with AI-powered hazard detection systems. Additionally, these devices must keep a record of every alert issued and document the crew's actions in response. This electronic record will be included in official legal documents. In court, it can indicate if a person acted or ignored a risk. This is reshaping the idea of responsibility. It's not only based on what the captain personally observes or thinks, but also on their reliance on technology and willingness to follow its advice. However, with the increasing use of technology like Trident, a new discussion is emerging. This discussion does not revolve around insurance or legal matters, but rather focuses on privacy concerns. Trident and similar tools gather large quantities of information, monitoring ship and flight routes, as well as crew member behavior. Advocates argue that this data is solely utilized for safety purposes, yet skepticism exists. Civil rights organizations are raising important inquiries. Is there a possibility of this data being manipulated? Could governments access it or exploit it for political reasons? Might it have an impact on the competitiveness of shipping companies? The courts and insurance companies are relying more on data now. It is no longer a question of whether we can collect all this information, but rather if we should. This raises a more important question: how do we balance safety and privacy? Some believe that without strict regulations, even the most advanced technologies can be misused. As reliance on satellite data increases in legal and insurance proceedings, the conflict between ensuring safety and safeguarding privacy intensifies. While discussions and arguments are ongoing in workplaces and legal settings, there is activity happening in the Bermuda Triangle. This area, previously only known in rumors, is now a popular route for ships and planes. After a period of calm, there is now a lot of movement in the region. The main driving force behind this is not enigma, but rather financial gain. After the pandemic, cruise tourism has bounced back strong. Cruise ships are now making more frequent trips between Florida, the Bahamas, and the Caribbean, providing quick and sunny vacations. Meanwhile, cargo ships are moving at a faster pace. Due to the increase in online shopping, more products are being transported from Central America to the United States. The quickest route passes through the Bermuda Triangle. As the amount of ships and planes in the area increases, the likelihood of accidents also rises. This is not due to ghosts, but simply due to the increase in traffic. With more activity, there are more opportunities for something to go awry. The weather patterns in the region are also shifting. Scientists predict that by 2040, the number of powerful storms in the area will increase significantly. This is not a tale of the supernatural, but rather a prediction based on weather patterns. As the pressure increases, the focus is changing. People are now more concerned with preventing actual accidents rather than solving mysterious disappearances. The new danger is not hidden under the ocean. It is happening right in front of us. Shipping companies are being encouraged to improve their ships with advanced designs and more efficient hazard response systems. Pilots are receiving training to be more adaptable in changing course. It is no longer sufficient to just be aware of potential dangers. Crews need to be prepared to take action promptly. Ignoring warnings and taking shortcuts through risky areas that are known can now be monitored and scrutinized. If a disaster happens as a result, it can lead to huge financial losses for a company. With the advancement of smart satellites and instant alerts, there is no room for guesswork or wishful thinking in today's age. What do you think about the Bermuda Triangle mystery? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, like, share, and subscribe to this channel for more celebrity gist. Before you go, watch the other videos on your screen.